Imagine walking outside one morning and seeing a bright red letter on your doorstep. It's stamped with the letters HOA violation. Now imagine opening it and reading that your tiny, harmless daughter's favorite toy, sitting in your yard for 2 months, is officially illegal, and the HOA is demanding a $200 fine. For single mother Jasmine Carter, this was not just absurd, it was personal. Jasmine had moved into the quiet suburban neighborhood with her 7-year-old daughter, Maya, seeking a peaceful life after a string of difficult years. She worked long hours as a nurse and spent every spare moment nurturing Maya. That little pink rocking horse in the front yard? A symbol of childhood joy and a bit of comfort in a world that had been harsh at times. But the HOA didn't see joy, they saw a violation. Jasmine stared at the notice, disbelief coursing through her veins. The letter stated, "Item in yard violates community aesthetics. Fine, $200. Immediate compliance required." She reread the paragraph 3 times, hoping she was misreading it. A toy? Her daughter's toy? That could really cost her $200? The next day, she visited the HOA office, armed with her calmest tone and a polite smile. "I just don't understand," she said. "It's a small toy. Maya loves it. Surely there's been a mistake." The HOA representative barely looked up from her paperwork. "Rules are rules," she said flatly. "You must remove it immediately. Payment due within 5 days." Jasmine walked out, fury and disbelief intertwining with fear. She had no idea of the battle she was about to face. That night, Jasmine sat on the couch with Maya, gently explaining the situation. Maya's eyes widened. "But Mom, it's just my horse. Can't they see it's just a toy?" Jasmine hugged her daughter tight. "I know, baby. I know." But deep inside, Jasmine made a decision: I will not let this injustice stand. The next morning, she started documenting everything. Photographs of the toy in the yard. Copies of the HOA rules. Records of conversations. She even discreetly spoke to neighbors, some sympathetic, some hesitant, but she knew she needed evidence if this fight escalated. The tension mounted when a second notice arrived. Failure to comply will result in additional fines and legal action. Now it wasn't just absurd, it was intimidating. The HOA was using fear as a weapon. Jasmine could feel the anxiety creeping in, but she also felt determination ignite like a fire. She started her research. Hours of internet browsing revealed shocking stories, HOAs enforcing rules in bizarre, petty ways, targeting families they considered different or non-compliant. Each story made her blood boil, but it also made her realize she wasn't alone. Many had fought back, and won. Then came the turning point. Jasmine found a clause in the HOA's own handbook stating that temporary toys for children under 10 were explicitly exempt from fines. The red letter in her mailbox suddenly seemed less like a threat and more like a mistake, or, worse, a deliberate intimidation tactic. Armed with proof, Jasmine requested a formal HOA meeting. The room was sterile, the fluorescent lights harsh, and she felt the weight of every watchful eye. Across the table sat the HOA board members, some with smug expressions, others nervously glancing at their notes. "I'm here because your fine is unjust," Jasmine began, her voice steady. "Not only is my daughter's toy exempt, but I've documented everything according to your own rules." The room murmured. One board member stammered, "Well, rules are guidelines." Jasmine smiled, holding back a triumphant laugh. "Guidelines or not, a fine is a legal action. I expect it to be rescinded immediately." But the suspense wasn't over. One particularly aggressive board member tried to argue, suggesting that the toy was an eyesore and that her action sets a precedent. Jasmine calmly pulled out her phone and projected photos she had taken over the past 2 months, the toy neatly placed, the yard pristine, neighbors walking by smiling. "This isn't an eyesore," she said. "This is normal family life." Then, the final twist, one of the neighbors, a young father who had been observing in silence, stood up and added, "I've seen this family every day. There's nothing offensive here." Your claim is ridiculous." The tension broke like a snapped string. Board members muttered excuses, some turning red, others staring at their hands. Jasmine had won, not with anger, but with calm determination, proof, and community support. Walking home, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maya ran to hug her, and Jasmine whispered, "See, baby? Sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even if it's scary." The story didn't end there. A week later, the HOA released a public statement, the fine was rescinded, and the family's compliance was fully restored. Jasmine shared her story online, quickly going viral, inspiring thousands of families facing similar petty HOA conflicts. And the rocking horse? It stayed exactly where it belonged, an emblem of childhood, courage, and the triumph of standing up to injustice. Just when Jasmine thought the nightmare was over, a new tension began to creep into her life. The HOA may have rescinded the fine, but not everyone in the neighborhood was happy about it. Whispers followed her and Maya whenever they walked down the street. Notes started appearing in her mailbox, some polite, some veiled threats, reminding her that not everyone was ready to accept their victory. One evening, as Jasmine was putting Maya to bed, a soft knock echoed through the house. She opened the door cautiously and found a small box on the doorstep with no note, no name, nothing. Inside? A miniature replica of the pink rocking horse, broken in half. Jasmine's heart skipped a beat. Someone was trying to intimidate them, but why escalate now? Determined not to show fear, Jasmine picked up her phone and discreetly filmed the broken toy. She posted a subtle message online, "Even when people try to break us, we rebuild." Within hours, neighbors started sending messages of support, and suddenly she realized she wasn't alone. People who had silently observed her fight were now rooting for her. The suspense escalated when, the following week, the HOA called an emergency meeting, claiming they needed to discuss community standards. Jasmine arrived, cautious but prepared. As soon as she walked into the meeting room, she felt it, eyes watching, whispers following, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The HOA president began speaking, attempting to intimidate Jasmine with a stern tone. "While the fine was rescinded, there are ongoing concerns about your property," he said. "Other residents are uncomfortable with irregularities." Jasmine remained calm. "Irregularities? My daughter's toy? Or is it because I stood up for what's right?" she asked, her voice firm but controlled. A few members squirmed in their seats. Then came the twist. A neighbor stood up, someone Jasmine had barely spoken to before, and revealed that he had secretly recorded the HOA meetings and discussions. The videos showed board members laughing and plotting petty fines, making baseless claims just to intimidate families they didn't like. Gasps filled the room. The president's smug expression faltered as the footage played on the big screen, board members mocking Jasmine, mocking Maya, even joking about targeting families for trivial reasons. The room was silent, the weight of their actions finally catching up to them. Jasmine's heart pounded, but she stayed composed. "Now that the truth is out, I expect an official apology, and I expect these practices to stop immediately." Her voice didn't waver, even as she felt adrenaline surge. The room erupted in whispers, some HOA members muttering excuses, others glaring at Jasmine. The neighbor who shared the footage gave her a nod, a silent acknowledgement of victory in progress. But the story didn't end there. As Jasmine returned home, she noticed a small envelope slid under her door. Inside was a note, carefully written, "You think you've won? We're not done." Her stomach sank, but this time, fear was mixed with determination. She had survived intimidation before, and she knew she could handle whatever came next. Over the following days, Jasmine discovered more unusual activity, neighbors taking strange photos, unknown people driving slowly past the house, subtle signs meant to unsettle her. But she also noticed something remarkable. The very community that had once whispered against her began rallying. People left supportive notes, some brought small gifts for Maya, and even HOA members who disagreed quietly began to back off. The suspense peaked one late afternoon when Jasmine received a mysterious phone call. A deep, unfamiliar voice said only, "You've exposed more than you realize. Keep your eyes open." The line went dead. Jasmine's pulse raced. Who was behind the threats? Was it someone from the HOA, a neighbor, or someone else entirely? Instead of panic, Jasmine smiled faintly. She realized the story had changed. No longer was it just about a toy or a fine, it had become a test of courage, strategy, and resilience. Every move she made now mattered. And she was ready. The last twist came unexpectedly. Maya, curious and playful, found a note in the yard the next morning. It read, "You've already won more than you know. Watch closely." Jasmine looked around and laughed quietly, realizing the entire ordeal had sparked something far bigger than a simple neighborhood dispute, a story of truth, courage, and a mother's relentless love for her child. And as the camera pans back, the toy rocking horse stands proud in the yard, sunlight glinting off its pink surface, silent, yet defiant. Jasmine knew one thing: no threat, no intimidation, no petty fine could ever take away her victory or her spirit. The tension in the neighborhood had reached its peak. Jasmine felt it in the morning air, the subtle glances, the quiet whispers, the lingering unease. But today, she was prepared. She had gathered her evidence, documented every strange occurrence, and now she was ready to confront the situation once and for all. It all began when the HOA announced another emergency meeting, claiming urgent neighborhood concerns. This time, Jasmine decided not just to defend herself, she was going to expose the truth fully. With Maya at her side, holding her hand, she entered the meeting room, her calm exterior hiding the storm of determination inside. The president of the HOA began with his usual smug tone. "We are here to discuss continuing issues with your property," he trailed off, noticing the confidence in Jasmine's gaze. Before he could continue, Jasmine projected a full slideshow of evidence she had collected over the past weeks: photos, videos, emails, and even recordings of board members conspiring behind closed doors. The room went silent as every petty lie, every intimidation tactic, and every baseless accusation was displayed in front of everyone. One board member whispered frantically to another, but the room's attention was fully on Jasmine. "You thought you could intimidate a single mother," Jasmine said, voice steady, "but what you didn't realize is that courage and truth are far stronger than fear." Suddenly, the back of the room erupted. Neighbors who had once been silent stepped forward with statements of support, recounting instances of HOA harassment that went beyond Jasmine's case. One elderly neighbor added, "I've seen how you've been targeted unfairly. It ends now." The president stammered, trying to regain control, but the momentum had shifted completely. And then, the shocking twist: an anonymous tip revealed that the HOA had been under investigation for years for abusing their authority, and Jasmine's evidence became the final piece needed to bring official action. Even more unexpected, a local news crew had caught wind of the story and arrived at the meeting. Cameras rolled as Jasmine calmly stated the facts. By the end of the day, the HOA was publicly reprimanded, fines were canceled, and reforms were demanded. The very organization that tried to intimidate her had been exposed. But Jasmine's last laugh wasn't just legal victory. As she walked back home, Maya ran ahead, picking up the pink rocking horse. She placed it proudly in the yard, now decorated with colorful flowers and handmade signs by supportive neighbors saying, "Courage wins here." And then came a moment of unexpected humor and poetic justice. A board member who had been particularly cruel accidentally tripped over the decorative garden gnome Jasmine had cleverly repositioned to block his path. He fell with a startled yelp, and the neighbors couldn't help but laugh, Jasmine included, though quietly, savoring the irony. From that day forward, the neighborhood shifted. People who had whispered against her now respected her courage. The story of the single mother and her toy spread through social media, inspiring thousands to stand up against petty authority and unjust rules. Sitting on her porch that evening, Jasmine watched Maya play on the rocking horse, sunlight glinting off its bright pink surface. She realized the ordeal had done something incredible. It had turned fear into empowerment, bullying into community solidarity, and a simple toy into a symbol of resilience and triumph.